Thank you, Real Rich. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for logging in from different parts of the world today for the talk. I have to begin by thanking Real Rich and the Omar Library for this invitation to be a part of this scintillating series on architectural discourse. I feel privileged to be a part of this entire series that has had renowned experts involved in history, theory, curatorial practice, philosophy, criticism, and storytelling. I should add that I'm doubly excited that the OMA team thought of introducing a female character into their story of the Seven Samurai. I had the beautiful opportunity to visit the OMA library in Jakarta 2 years back. I spent time there, went through the amazing collection of books the library has, and I appreciate the fantastic work that Real Rich and his entire team at OMA are doing to further architectural discourse. I am here today to speak on the aspect of writing in architectural discourse, something that probably for me started as a hobby, became a passion, turned a profession, and over the past few years has also become a purpose as far as architecture is concerned. I apologize that I am speaking in English. I understand that for many of you, English might not be your first language, and you might not be very comfortable with it. But I will try to keep my English very simple, and I'm hoping Real Rich would step in case there is any need for any translation. To be discussing how writing contributes to architectural discourse, the main goals achieved through writing, the mandates for writing, and the need to pursue writing in architecture. Where does writing fit in creating a discourse? Firstly, what is it that architects or designers do through architecture? They build stories and they build narratives. I am glad that even in last week's talk on storytelling, there was a focus on the important bond between narrative and architecture. These narratives or stories have several functions of preserving the past, creating memories of the existing, of visualizing a future and being a silent bridge between the past, present, and the future. The role of good writing has to be able to recognize these stories and narratives in architecture and design and bring them into focus. Writing should be able to further investigate or critique what it takes to build these narratives. It should be able to understand who are the performers and narrators in these narratives. Books that I want to share, they are from the magazine issue of the Journal of Indian Institute of Architects, which is the professional body of architects in India. In 2013, the magazine had invited me to conceptualize and spearhead a special issue on a topic that they said that I could choose. I chose architectural journalism as the topic, and this was the first magazine issue in India that was dedicated entirely to architectural journalism. I wanted to have a very holistic view on architectural journalism and architectural writing, and hence the magazine issue probed into architecture writing through the minds of architect practitioners, architecture writers, and also incorporated the views of architecture faculty and students. They spoke on the subject, they spoke on its relevance, its status in India and overseas. I have two quotes from names that many of you must be familiar with. Firstly, I have architect Veer Doshi. He is the architectural gem of our country. We very proudly flaunt him. And of course, he is the former Pritzker laureate, and everything that he says has to be a learning in itself. So what he says is, to read, to think, and to debate is an essential part of our professional learning. To read and arouse our curiosity is the responsibility of enlightened journalism. It is thus essential that we undertake the task of promoting architectural journalism in the country on a war footing. Next is Professor A.G.K. Menon, who is a very well-known architect, urban planner, academic, author, and activist from Northern India. And he was asked to comment on architectural writing in India. And here is what he said. Writing promotes theoretical postulations, which in turn becomes the grist for developing theoretical propositions. If theory is the weak element in the architecture of India, then its causes could be traced to the addition of architecture writing in the curriculum of architectural education. I must add here that in India, we have had a number of renowned architects who have been very prolific writers too, right from architect B.V. Doshi to Charles Correa to Christopher Benningen, Rahul Mehrotra, and many more too, which just goes on to show that architecture and writing somewhere have a very deep connection. Then there are spaces which nurture the sense of belonging. They make you feel nostalgic, probably because they connect you to your own culture. So this is the article that I was speaking about earlier, which I did for Architectural Record. This is an award-winning building called the Krushi Bhavan. This is located in South India. And though it's a government building, though it's an extremely sustainable building, it's a social space, it's a public space. What is most, I think, touching about this building is that it completely reflects the vernacular, the local, the traditional architecture or the traditional culture of the state in which it is located. It is located in Orissa. Then there are spaces which nurture the sense of, tranquility. On the left-hand side is the Tempilaku Church, or the Rock Church, as it is famously called in Helsinki. I am not sure how many of you have heard about it, but the most interesting part is that the entire church has been excavated out of one underground granite block. It looks like a contemporary church, but it was built in the end 1960s. And it's amazing to understand that this kind of radical architecture was happening during that time. And on the right, as all of you would be knowing, is the La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, which I visited last year. I must tell you that when I visited it, there might have been around 800 or 900 people who were inside the cathedral at that time. But the kind of serenity that this structure could emanate was amazing, and it's something that we need to write about as art with this book. And I am so happy that RealBridge had such great things to comment about the book. I am definitely ecstatic that I could give a presentation on the book at OMA 2 years back. But for all of those who don't know about the book has conversations with 19 acclaimed architects of India. You can see the architects on the left-hand side. And it was conceived as a book where these architects from different geographical locations, with diverse philosophies, different generations, would actually get in conversations on some pertinent topics in architecture, which would then become the starting point for a powerful discourse. So there are many conversations in the book. They touch upon many issues. They talk about some of the issues that I might quote are about improving the environment, ecology, sustainability, the role of local materials, architectural education, global warming, shortage of land. Then they also talk about identity of Indian architecture, what we could learn from global counterparts, then about social responsibility of architects, participatory design. So there are a lot of issues that have been discussed in this book. Though it's wonderful that we have been talking about the 7 aspects of architectural discourse through this entire series that has been running through the past 1 month. But I also think that what is important for us is to also consider taking these aspects as serious career options and understand that we have a great opportunity to make a difference to architecture through them. When it comes to writing in architecture, there is a need for more people to write. There is a need for serious writing. There is a need for original writing. And most of all, there is a need for people to understand that everyone might not want to design buildings after their architectural degree. They might have different inclination towards alternate avenues in architecture, and there will be many who might have an inclination towards writing too.
Thank you, Apurva, for a very uh, heartwarming presentations. Shall we continue to the Q&A session for 15
Yes,
to
yes,
20 minutes? Okay.
yes, yes. Well,
So I would like to highlight the first question from Dina Safira. How do you start a career as an architectural writer? Is there any difficulties being architectural writer in Asia? If so, how do you manage it? So I think it's quite personal question. Please go on, Apurva.
well, I don't want to be discouraging, but I still think writing is something like the creative arts, which means that it's a talent that you are born with. Once you're born with that talent, you kind of have to nurture it. And about a career or a profession in architecture writing, um, it is important that we get some kind of training in architecture writing, because though we are all trained in architecture, but we are not trained in writing. So for all those who want to take a career in architecture writing, I would suggest that you kind of assess your writing skills. And if you think that you need to brush up on your writing skills, you do a course for it, by which I don't mean that you go in for an entire course in journalism, but there are a lot of short courses which can, kind of help you in writing. Apart from that, I would also say that architecture writing is not a very conventional field. So once you graduate from architecture, I would advise that you work with an architectural magazine or an architecture journal or a firm that is working with architectural writers. And so once you understand the field, once you are convinced that you want to be in the field, then there are a lot of master courses that are being, offered across the world, which you could, take up and get into architectural writing. Apart from that, a lot of colleges across the world, they also have writing in their undergraduate degree. In fact, I am told in the US and the UK, writing is an integral part of all theory courses. So that is how someone who is inclined towards writing should get into architecture writing. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Apurva, I'll just continue from Sana. How do you build a portfolio? From where, and what is the method to build it? Starting from where? From your adventure.
I didn't get you.
How do you start to build your portfolio? What's first in terms of the architectural writing? From the newspaper or from the magazine, or in your experience?
I think there are different kind of readers when we talk about architecture writings. There are the technical readers who are from the architectural, the building industry itself, and you will find those readers reading architectural magazines, architectural journals. Then there are the other kind of readers, which is the common man, which is the general public, who get most of their information about architecture from newspapers. So there also we can write as architectural writers. The only thing that we have to understand is that though our content might be the same for both kinds of writing, but the language that we use does not have to be very technical. So I would always say that to have a great portfolio, it is important to do all kinds of writing, very technical writing for architecture journals, writing for architectural magazines, writing for newspapers. The more the more variety, the more diversity that you can show in terms of your writing towards different kind of readers, that will make an important portfolio. But I also know that there are a lot of students who, after their graduation, they want to get into architecture writing, and that is the time where you might not want to have a portfolio. I don't know if it works with all the magazines, but what I can tell you is that I joined one of the leading architectural magazines of India. Within 2 months, of my graduation from Chandigarh College of Architecture. And at that time, I really didn't have a portfolio which spoke about architecture writing per se. But I had a lot of writing on different topics, different issues that I had done. So I included that in my portfolio. Then obviously we have dissertations, we have reports that we do in our degree, and which also requires a lot of writing. So that is also something that you can include in your portfolio. And there are a lot of colleges which offer these electives, and then if there are students who have done submissions in these electives, I think that is also a great way to include it in your portfolio. But I will also say that, when you apply to architecture magazines, it is not only about writing, which should be a part of your portfolio. It should also be about architecture, because architecture writing is not just writing, it's knowledge on architecture and it's knowledge on writing too. Should consider when you consider writing anything is to keep the audience in mind. Keep the suppose if you're writing for a magazine, keep the magazine in mind, and understand what the audience, the language in which the audience might want to understand. So I think that's the most important connection, as I told you, that happens in writing, in any kind of writing. The other trick is only that, I think I mentioned it, that you have to be very, very aware as an architectural writing, aware as in all forms, not only in terms of what is happening in architecture. As I said, architecture is a profession which affects us on a daily basis. So you learn about architecture, you learn about design every moment of your life. It can be something so small that if I'm traveling from A place to B place, there will be a number of spaces that I see on the way, which might influence my thinking. So I think the kind of reading that we do, it does not have to be architecture. It has to be very, very holistic about how design, how spaces they affect us, how it affects our psychology. And in architecture, we are also made to study about different subjects, whether it's theory, whether it's elements of design. But there are some other subjects like psychology, sociology, which we also need to take into consideration for us to understand architecture in a better way and write about it. And I think one of the greatest suggestions, or one of the most important way, is to read a lot, read architectural writing, read writing, and understand how to put across your views and what are the views that are important enough to be put across.
Have you ever, Apurva, have an experience like in your writing, like you feel like, oh, I've read that before? How you encounter that kind of feeling?
Sorry, did you say about a writer's block? What did you say? There was some connection issue?
Yes, if you feel like there is like a writing block when you write something.
Oh yes, yes, definitely, because writing is a very, very what do you say? It's a process that happens inside you. It is not something which happens outside you. But a lot of external factors will definitely affect you. So, for example, the environment affects you. For a lot of people, when you want to write some article, you want a lot of clutter around you, because you think that your creative process is actually going to begin after seeing all that clutter. But for me, I have to be I have to have a completely clean environment where it kind of psychologically helps me to think about what I want to write. And a lot of times when I think that I'm not able to write, I don't try to write, or I don't make an effort to write, because I realize that what will come out finally will not be a piece that I have written from my heart. And I believe that writing should always be from one's heart. So I just take a break completely. I focus on other things, and that might not have anything to do with my profession. There are many other things that I might want to do. I might want to do something in the home, at home. I might want to just listen to music. I might want to just cook. So, what I would like to say is, don't force yourself into writing. Make that kind of an environment which gives you the inspiration, where you say that, okay, now I want to sit and start writing.
Oh, wonderful. I will just note for 3 more questions. I think I will just, and then we will just summarize it. I want to continue with the fear and Phoenicia's question. See the question about, how does the research process goes until it is read? Do you collaborate with other people, maybe in a team, your research team, Apurva, and how you conclude your writing method?
Okay, so no, I have been working independently since 2009. I started my career with 2 of India's leading architectural publications, and I was a part of their core team. I started my career in 2005, but since 2009, I have been working independently. Independently in the sense is that all the work, whether it's the research, whether it's the site visit, whether it's going and covering any event, whether it's the writing part, whether it's actually the coordination with everyone, right from the magazine, right from the writer, I handle it independently completely. But yes, that is my work and I handle it independently, but I collaborate with architectural publications globally. I collaborate with architectural institutions. I collaborate with architectural firms, and I also collaborate with product firms. So those are in terms of collaboration. But yes, I have been working completely independently. So all my emails are also answered by me. They are all checked by me. So that is till now it's working that way.
Okay, Apurva. There are some of the questions that are quite similar, and I'll just skip some of the questions. There is a question from the Reski Dikaputra. Hi Apurva, thank you for presenting. I'm curious, as you put originality and encouragement as your primary mandate in writing, how do you approach originality, and can you elaborate on that matter?
Well, I think originality of the writing also comes from the fact about how you observe things, how you read things, how you try and absorb them, but then you don't replicate them. So if you have, maybe read something somewhere, you might have been inspired by it, but then you go into a thought process where you kind of interpret it and kind of understand how you would like to think about it. So for example, if I am taking a project, I might have gone and visited a building, I might have spoken to the users about it, I might have gone and spoken to the architect about it, but then there is a phase which I would call a phase of detachment, where you step away from what the architect has told you, you step away from what you have already read about the project, but you internalize and think about the project yourself and how you, in terms of the technical knowledge that you have about architecture, would respond to the project. So that I think is one of the ways to be original in writing, and I think it's very, very important to be original in writing. And unfortunately, because of the digital space today, which I think I was mentioning to you, Real Rich, earlier too, there is a lot of plagiarism happening. There are copyright issues, but at the end of it, I think if you are a writer, more than anyone else, you have to be true to yourself. If you are kind of ending up copying someone's phrases, copying someone's thoughts, then why in the first place did you think of becoming a writer? So I think as a writer, you need to be true to yourself, and that is where the originality would also come through.
Yes, I do feel that the referencing is one of the most important thing to do. And I'll just continue with the last question. I think I'll
really,
just.
If you think there are some questions that I should answer now, maybe we could have 2-3 questions.
Oh, sure. The I think I got a question from Desiana to you. In India, is the government? I mean, is there any like a specific portal for architecture publications? Then and I remember STIR. I mean the one that you introduced mentioned to me before. STIR and how far that kind of publications affecting the social condition in India in terms of architectural discourse. I mean, how do you think that is going to be very important in the future?
It is interesting that we talk about architecture portals in a time when all that is actually working during the COVID time is just digital publications, and in fact a lot of print publications have also gone digital during these few months. And the great thing about digital publication is that it does not matter where it originates from, because it is accessible to everyone. Having said that, there are a lot of good Indian architectural portals. There are actually many of them. Some are only doing, they are just kind of describing a project. Some of them are actually critiquing issues in architecture. They are critiquing projects. So I think there are a couple of portals which are doing some great work. They are also trying to incorporate discussions in architecture.
Apurva, I have a question that's in Indonesia, there are some of discussion about the identity in the local architecture. In correspondence to the global architecture. I just want, I have a curiosity. In India, is that kind of this discourse happening?
This discourse, I think, is rampant across the world when we terms of when we talk of when we talk in terms of architecture, because the question of identity in India has also been since there from a very, very long time. With so many influences coming in from the West, with so many materials coming in which have worked in the West, unfortunately, a lot of that is being replicated in India too. But having said that, while there is a question of the identity of Indian architecture, I must add here that there are a lot of architects, whether a few of them are already established or a few of the younger lot, who are trying to kind of give an identity to Indian contemporary architecture. So this question, I think, about identity is also very, very sensitive, and it's there for architecture across the world, if I'm not wrong.
So is this part of the architecture critics to projecting the identity for the greater good of the people? Do you think?
Yes, why not? I think it is important, for architectural writers to understand that every project, when we talk of India, whether it's India has different geographical, so many different regions which have a different culture, which have a different climate, and so the buildings that have to be built in those particular regions or climates have to correspond to that climate or to that identity of the city or the state they are in. So I think as architectural writers, one of the main things that we write about is the importance of context, because I think it is actually the context which will give rise to the kind of identity of architecture in various regions.
Okay. Before I summarize your talk, Apurva, do you have any conclusion, like a remark for our discussion tonight, for everybody here?
Well, my only conclusion would be that sometimes writing is taken as a very casual field, and I must say that writing is a very, very important field, and writing in any profession can contribute a lot to that profession, because
a good writer is not only, he or she doesn't signify only words. As I said, a good writer also signifies a lot of things, and one of them being clear thinking. And I think clear thinking and clarity is something that will help us advance in all kinds of professions. And architecture writing is very, very important because as we are talking about, it contributes to the architectural discourse. It acts as a bridge between the public, between the built environment, and this is very, very important, more so because architecture, we can say it's a technical field, but it actually, it affects each one of us who is not an architect. It doesn't only affect those who are architects. So it is very important to write about architecture. And I think because I also always promote or advocate the subject of architecture writing, a lot of architectural institutions across the world, a lot of architecture fraternity, they have actually sat up and understood the importance of writing in architecture. So all of you who are interested in this field must pursue it. I am sure initially there will be hurdles because as it is, it's an unconventional field of architecture. But why go in for a profession that you would not enjoy for the rest of your life? I would advise, I would suggest, and that is something that I have personally done also, go in for a profession that you would be interested, to do for the rest of the life. And well, that is what, I wanted to say. And I think that would be my concluding remarks for today.
Okay, Apurva. And then let me conclude the questions that from in Apurva Boseduta's lecture, we can hear the four structures in the architectural writings. That we start with how writing contributes to the architectural discourse, continued with the main goals achieved through writing, mandates for writing, and the need to pursue writing in architecture, which I can say that there is no holiday for architectural writers. So I think, and not the duty, but the enjoyment of to read everything, to provide a healthy network, to experience meeting the architect, meeting the people, meeting the architectural events in first person, which is very important. And then after that, we need to be mindful and feel the emotions that we build the future as a people who love architecture. And then I can see the architectural writing can be the group or a person that can move changes in the public life through the economic, social, cultural, technologically, political, and architectural studies, which is beyond architecture, which is very interesting. And then hoping that many people can join as well to be architectural writer, which is my hope in Indonesia as well. So I think it's many discourses needs to be rethought and redefined with the writing and through the architectural discourse. And then it's kind of mission for us, for me actually, in the OMA library, to have a very healthy discourse in the architecture. I mean, it's about the architectural writing is about the projections of the future and stitching to the past, which theorizing the past and creating the future in part of the research, reading, communicate, analyze, and I think it's amazing storytelling, which is concluded from the last lecture by Revianto as well, and then it's concluded in Apurva's presentation in the importance of the to write, to conclude your storytellings into the reality, and it can be estafette, you can pass it to the next generations by the writing. So I think that's my conclusion for Apurva. And then I thank you, Apurva, for the brilliant presentations. I would like to have another session with you. I mean, we can talk about it after this.
Sure, why not? And
So that's...
Rich, I must also thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and I think you are all doing a great service to architectural discourse and architecture. I must tell you, I attended all the 7 sessions. I know they were done in Bahasa, but I could see the slides, the beautiful slides, the beautiful presentation, storytelling. And I must congratulate you and your entire team at OMA for doing such a great thing. And thank you for making me a part of all this.
Yes, I mean, OMA is consists of many young people like Satria, Kirana, Amel, and Dimas as well. I mean, I need to thank this is all of these collaborations together with them, and for the people who support all of the lecturers here. They are very brilliant people. So I'm very thankful. Okay, Apurva, I'll just
thank you,
okay,
and I also thank everyone who has joined in for the session today.
Sure, there'll be like a testimonial. Please fill the testimonial. You can translate it to Apurva so she can read the testimonial, and then I mean it's a give and take. I think for us to the lecturer, I think it's very important. So I think I'll just pass it to Satria, and then shall we distribute the testimonial to everybody here. Thank you, Apurva.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Apurva, Rich, and such as a beautiful presentation with comprehensive storytelling. And yeah, let's everyone give us testimonials and some feedback for our sessions. And as usual, let we conduct our photo session. So please turn on your videos. Yeah, good. I hope there will be one of you to be a good writer in Indonesian discourse. We hope so. Okay. Okay, good. Next one. So goodbye and good night. Have a nice day tomorrow.
Night.
See you.
Malam.